Namaskar, this is Newsnight on DD India. My name is Mark Lynn. Thank you for joining us. On the program, the Omicron variant of concern and how it could change the dynamics in the war against the COVID virus as we enter 2022. What's in store for the upcoming winter session of Parliament, updates on the devastating rainfall in Tamil Nadu, and news from the International Film Festival of India, which is drawing to a close in Goa. But let's begin with the headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi chairs a high-level meeting to review COVID-19 and vaccinations, and the Prime Minister stresses on the need to be vigilant in view of the new variant Omicron. Officials are asked to review the plan for easing international travel restrictions. States are being vigilant regarding Omicron variant. Chief ministers of many states hold review meetings and instruct all measures to be taken to control the virus. Increased monitoring of travellers from abroad. WHO says Omicron is not a variant of concern in India so far. The Omicron variant of concern results in precautionary steps being taken by several countries to isolate movement of and to from areas where the virus has been found. Preliminary evidence suggests it creates an increased risk of reinfection. Variant currently is prevalent in some African countries, including South Africa. The government accepts farmers' demand to decriminalize stubble burning. The Union Agriculture Minister Narendra Singh Tomar says a bill to repeal the 3 agricultural laws will be presented in Parliament on day 1 of the winter session. Farmers' organizations cancel the tractor rally scheduled for Monday. President Ramnath Kovind asks all concerned to work together to reduce pendency of cases in courts across the country, addresses the concluding session of the 2-day Constitution Day celebrations organized by the Supreme Court, and also terms the derogatory comments in social media as worrying. Rain in Tamil Nadu continues to throw life out of gear. At least 8 people have died in rain-related incidents since Thursday. The Meteorological Department issues a red alert in coastal districts for the next 2 days. Relief and rescue work continues. Fear of heavy rains in neighbouring Kerala as well. The penultimate day of the ongoing 52nd International Film Festival of India in Goa, Marathi film Funeral catches everyone's attention in the competition segment, and Film Bandhu website to give single window clearance in Uttar Pradesh has been launched. And the first test between India and New Zealand at Kanpur is interestingly poised because the hosts have ended day 3 at 14 for 1 after bundling out New Zealand for 296. Spinners, led by Akshar Patel's Fifer, restricted the Kiwis to below 300, giving India a 49-run lead in the first innings. Our top story, Prime Minister Narendra Modi chaired a high-level meeting to review COVID-19 situation and vaccine coverage in the country. The Prime Minister stressed on the need to be vigilant in view of the new variant Omicron. He directed that genome sequencing samples be collected from international travellers and the community as per norms, and also instructed officials to coordinate with states to ensure that there are adequate buffer stocks of various medicines.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi chaired a high-level meeting to review the situation related to COVID-19 and the pace of vaccination. The PM was briefed about the global trends in COVID-19 infections and cases in the meeting that lasted nearly 2 hours. Officials highlighted that countries across the world have experienced multiple COVID-19 surges since the onset of the pandemic. The PM also reviewed the national situation relating to COVID-19 cases and test positivity rates. In view of the rising cases in African countries pertaining to the new corona variant, Omicron, the PM spoke about the need to be proactive. The PM said that in the light of the new threat, people need to be more cautious and they need to take proper precautions like masking and social distancing. The PM highlighted the need for monitoring all international arrivals, their testing as per guidelines, with a specific focus on countries identified as at risk. The PM also asked officials to review plans for easing of international travel restrictions in light of the emerging new evidence. The PM directed that there is a need to increase the second dose coverage and that states need to be sensitized on the need to ensure that all those who have got the first dose are given the second dose timely. The PM directed that genome sequencing samples be collected from international travelers and community as per norms. He instructed officials to coordinate with states to ensure that there is adequate buffer stocks of various medicines. He asked officials to work with the states to review the functioning of medical infrastructure, including pediatric facilities.
आरंभ से ही प्रधानमंत्री जी ने डे टू डे बेसिस पर स्वयं समीक्षा की है और यही कारण है कि कोविड के इस युद्ध में भारत की सफलता विश्व भर में अब कबूल की जा रही है और जिस प्रकार भारत ने सफलतापूर्वक मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में इस आपदा का सामना किया उसके परिणाम स्वरूप आज भारत विश्व के प्रथम श्रेणी के देशों में आकर के खड़ा है.
The World Health Organization has labeled the new COVID variant Omicron that is spreading rapidly in African countries as a variant of concern. India has till now not been impacted by this variant, but the centre as well as several states are all geared up to see that this dangerous variant can be stopped from entering India. Several state chief ministers including Karnataka, Uttarakhand and Rajasthan took review meetings and directed several containment measures in anticipation.
I have called all the experts, health department, disaster management department. We want to have a detailed and then we will formulate डिटेल प्रिकॉशनरी मेजर्स.
हमारा पूरा ध्यान है टेस्टिंग को लेकर भी और गाइडलाइन को लेकर भी. हम पूरी तरह से सजग हैं और हम कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि हर प्रकार से जो है उसको रोका जाएगा और जो भी जरूरी एहतियातन जो जरूरी इंतजाम है वो इंतजाम हम सकते हैं.
हमारे यहाँ थर्ड वेव की संभावना व्यक्त की जा रही है पर अभी फॉर्चुनेटली अभी लक्षण दिख नहीं रहे, परंतु पिछले 10 दिनों में जो संख्या बढ़ रही है, राजस्थान में बढ़ रही है और सब जगह बढ़ रही है, वो चिंता का विषय बना हुआ है. तो अभी भी मास्क लगाने की जरूरत बहुत ज़्यादा है जो लापरवाह लोग हो गए हैं.
States that with this international flight movements have increased surveillance on passengers coming from several states. All possible steps have been expedited at the airport as well as at other points to prevent COVID infections.
केसेस और जो व्यवस्था वो दूसरी लहर में थी उससे भी 2.5 गुना व्यवस्था अभी बढ़ा दी है. ऑक्सीजन की बात हो, ऑक्सीजन बेडेड की बात हो, आईसीयू की बात हो, वेंटिलेटर की बात हो, अभी ये तीसरी भी आवे, चौथी भी आ जावे कि 5वीं भी आवे, यहाँ पर कोई फर्क पड़ने वाला नहीं है. सब गुजराती को कोई चिंता करने की जरूरत नहीं है.
जो प्रवासी आ रहे उनको क्वारंटाइन किया जाएगा. जो प्रवासी आ रहे उनको जो दक्षिण अफ्रीका हो या दूसरे देश से आते हैं कंट्री से, तो उनको जीनोम सीक्वेंसिंग का चेक करना पड़ेगा. उसके बाद जो हमारे देश में आते हैं तो उनको क्वारंटाइन करके वो सब चेकिंग होने के बाद ही छोड़ा जाएगा.
While with regard to the new variant, the centre as well as state governments have been alert, and on the other hand, corona containment measures already in place are being rapidly implemented. Delhi's Lieutenant Governor Anil Paishal has directed senior officials to ensure that people strictly adhere to COVID-appropriate behaviour in public places and events. Instructions have also been given to ensure that hospitals are fully ready to deal with any emerging situation. With Delta variant having led to problems for European countries and now with Omicron variant, concerns are on the rise across the world in the global fight against the pandemic. Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, the Omicron variant of concern has resulted in precautionary steps being taken by several countries to isolate the movement of to and fro from areas. This is where the virus has been found, and Omicron is a virus of concern because preliminary evidence suggests it creates an increased risk of reinfection. The variant is currently prevalent in South Africa and other African countries. The World Health Organization has classified the B11529 variant detected in South Africa as a SARS-CoV-2 variant of concern, saying it may spread more quickly than other forms. Preliminary evidence suggested there is an increased risk of reinfection, and there had been a detrimental change in COVID-19 epidemiology. It said in a statement after a closed meeting of independent experts who reviewed the data. The new variant has now spread to travelers in Belgium, Hong Kong and Israel.
Omicron B11529 is named as a variant of concern because it has some concerning properties. This variant has a large number of mutations, and some of these mutations have some worrying characteristics. Right now, there are many studies that are underway. There's a lot of work that is ongoing in South Africa and in other countries to better characterize the variant itself in terms of transmissibility, in terms of severity, and any impact on our countermeasures like the use of diagnostics, therapeutics, or vaccines. So far, there's little information, but those studies are underway.
Meanwhile, countries around the world rush to suspend travel from southern Africa, even as global authorities reacted with alarm to the new variant detected in South Africa, as scientists seek to find out if the mutation is vaccine resistant. Earlier, the WHO cautioned countries against hastily imposing travel restrictions linked to the variant of COVID-19, saying they should take a risk-based and scientific approach. The United States will bar entry to most travelers from 8 southern African countries starting November 29. The travel restrictions do not ban flights or apply to U.S. citizens and lawful U.S. permanent residents. No cases of Omicron have been identified in the United States to date, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Canada and Brazil have also imposed similar travel restrictions from southern Africa. Japan said it would extend its tightened border controls to 3 more African countries after imposing curbs on travel from South Africa, Botswana, Eswatini, Zimbabwe, Namibia and Lesotho. Sri Lanka, Thailand, Saudi Arabia, Russia and Oman have also announced travel curbs on southern African nations. Australia on Saturday imposed new restrictions on people who have been in 9 South African countries as the new Omicron variant of COVID-19 raises concerns about a further wave of the pandemic.
Effective immediately, anyone who is not a citizen of Australia or their dependents and who has been in African countries where the Omicron variant has been detected and spread within the past 14 days will not be able to enter Australia. These countries are South Africa, Namibia, Zimbabwe, Botswana, Lesotho, Eswatini, the Seychelles, Malawi and Mozambique.
European Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen urged member states to activate emergency brake on travel from countries in southern Africa. Britain and EU countries have also introduced travel restrictions within hours of getting to know of the variant.
It is now important that all of us in Europe act very swiftly, decisively and united. The European Commission has today proposed to member states to activate the emergency brake on travel from countries in southern Africa and other countries affected to limit the spread of the new variant. All air travel to these countries should be suspended.
Meanwhile, South Africa termed the travel restrictions imposed by many countries as unjustified. South Africa's health minister told media that the country is acting with transparency and travel bans were against the norms and standards of the World Health Organization.
The reaction of some of countries in terms of imposing travel bans and such measures are completely against the norms and standards as guided by the World Health Organization.
Hundreds of foreigners in South Africa desperately tried to get back home on the last available flights. Johannesburg's O.R. Tambo International Airport was busy with travelers trying to make it back to their respective countries before borders are shut.
I'm on a business trip. My trip back was supposed to be yesterday, but that was the plan anytime and anyway. So I'm leaving today because the flight has been cancelled yesterday. So I'm flying back and I'm not really worried. I know I have to go in quarantine for 14 days. That's how it is. There's nothing we can do.
After cancelling the flight, if I arrive in the UK, because I'm quarantining in Frankfurt, if I arrive in the UK after 4 p.m., I have to quarantine in a hotel on my cost for 10 days. So I don't have the money. I don't have the £2,000 to quarantine in the hotel.
Pharma company BioNTech has said it's expecting more data in the coming weeks on the worrying new COVID-19 variant first detected in South Africa that will help determine whether the company needs to rework its vaccine. Pfizer and BioNTech said that if necessary, they expect to be able to ship a new vaccine targeting the variant in approximately 100 days. Amid the detection of a new coronavirus variant and surge in cases elsewhere, the WHO has asked countries in the Southeast Asia region to scale up surveillance, strengthen public health and social measures, and enhance vaccination coverage. Scientists are still learning about the variant identified this week, but the news pummeled global and oil markets amid fears what new travel bans would do to already shaky economies across southern Africa. Newsnight Desk, DD India. So let's try and understand about the Omicron variant of concern. Let's take a look at some data. So the Omicron variant of concern is a new variant of the SARS-CoV-2, and it's currently circulating in South Africa and some other African countries. And it was identified on the 22nd of November, not long ago, and it belongs to the lineage which has been named B11529. It's also unclear whether it's more transmissible than Delta. That's still being analyzed, and it's also unclear whether the current vaccines are effective against it. That's also being analyzed. Now, what's important is that it has 32 mutations more than any other variant, and also twice as many mutations as the Delta variant. So the full significance of these mutations remains uncertain at the current time, and a lot of people are speculating about that. But it has multiple spike protein mutations, in fact 32 of them. And the preliminary analysis suggests they are highly infectious. Proof is that South Africa has reported a 4-fold increase in new cases over the last 2 weeks. So that shows that it is definitely, transmissible. Now, the mutations of concern are what H655Y and N679K plus P681H. Now, these are linked to more efficient cell entry and hence transmissibility. It also has the NSP6, which is found in the alpha, beta, gamma, lambda variants. And this is the one that evades innate immunity. So that's why you get sick with it, because whatever immunity you have doesn't seem to work against it. Now, Omicron has deletion within the S gene, and that allows for rapid identification of the variant. So many people were concerned that it will skip the tests as well, but it probably can be detected according to some experts. Now, the South African Health Minister, as we heard there earlier, has claimed that the vaccines are still effective against any severe COVID, so it's not actually such a big concern. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, as we know, has held a 2-hour meeting on Omicron and also on vaccinations, and we saw the results of that meeting in our first report. Now, the Union Health Secretary has warned of the evolving situation and has recommended rigorous testing Omicron. Now, let's look at what Omicron is versus Delta. Now, currently, what happened to Delta? Delta is now 99.8% of all active cases globally are Delta, according to some reports. So Delta has basically overpowered all the other earlier variants, all its ancestral variants. Now, Omicron is on the picture. So could Omicron overpower Delta? That is the ultimate question. So we're going to go into our In Focus. Our In Focus segment is this: Omicron, a new challenge in the COVID war. Omicron, a new challenge in the COVID war, is our In Focus, and we are going to be discussing this with 2 eminent guests. Let me introduce you to them. Dr. V.K. Paul is a Niti Aayog member, also chairman of the National Task Force on COVID-19 and also chairman of the National Expert Group on Vaccine Administration for COVID-19. And Dr. Sunil Kumar Raina is advisor of the World Health Network and COVID Action Group and professor and head of community medicine at the Government Medical College, Himachal Pradesh. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for being with us. May I have our guests on the screen, please? Well, thank you very much for being with us, sirs. Let me start with you, Dr. Paul. So is Omicron far removed from its from the ancestral original version of COVID-19?
Well, as you have very correctly and in reasonable detail explained the significance of this new variant, Omicron, the current situation is that this particular variant is still in the process of being understood fully.
Yes.
The moot point is that the structural elements of this variant are such that they cause worry and concern. That's why the variant of concern label has been given. A variant of concern label is given when you suspect a variant to have one of the two or three implications in terms of the disease and public health. Firstly, could this variant be more transmissible and therefore would spread fast and overtake other variants?
Yes.
So transmissibility. Number two, could it be more severe and cause more death? More severe disease? That's our second concern. The third concern is, would it interfere with the vaccines by diluting and neutralizing the immunity related to the virus? So impact on the vaccine, and likewise, if it will also disturb our recognition of the positive cases through the RT-PCR and the tests that are available. If any or more than one of these implications seem to be there to a reasonable extent, then the label of variant of concern is given. So today we know that Omicron could have possibility of immune escape. We're still understanding to what extent, and therefore panic is not required. Let the science sort it out for all.
Right.
For us all. There are only about 100 sequences till yesterday, so hold on. But there is a concern that we want to see whether the vaccines will be protected, and you just heard a statement from South Africa that they seem to be fine, some denting, some breakthrough infections, sure. So we watch this space, a scientific journal. Second part is the issue of transmissibility, which is again being examined. And currently, there is no clear hint that severity could be an issue, but we still have to wait. So the first part is to understand that we have a variant which has a structure which is disturbing.
Yes.
But at the moment, let the science sort it out for us. At the same time, the other side, which we can then touch in detail, is we must heighten our preparation without panicking. And that's the key, and that's how the message came through in the meeting of the Honorable Prime Minister today.
Dr. Raina, so reports, people are reading reports obviously, and they suggest that 32 mutations are on the spike protein and 10 mutations on receptor binding domain. The South Africans say that it is basically not the vaccines are effective. But the question that some people have is that with so many mutations, is it going to have any impact on the vaccines?
For having me on the show, and as Dr. Paul rightly pointed out, there are three things that we generally need to look at any variant, and one of them is transmissibility, another is virulence, and the third is that whether your public health public health measures are able to tackle it or not. Now, at this point in time, if we look at these mutations that are there, they hint to a fact that this viral strain or this variant may be more fitter than the existing variant. So its chance of displacing Delta as the most dominant variant are always there.
Right.
But as the data is limited at this point in time, we don't have huge data. We have some data that has come up from South Africa. Then there is some data which is available from countries like Israel, Belgium, or some cases have come up from Greece and Hong Kong. The data is limited at this point in time to deduce any large conclusions hiding. But there are two things that we should be really interested in. One is, as Dr. Paul rightly pointed it out, that should we panic? We should not panic, because over a period of time in the last 2 years, we have understood what works as far as this pandemic is concerned and what doesn't work. So we are not as naive as we were maybe 2 years back. And but should we take precautions? That's probably the only thing that we need to do. We need to take precautions. We need to heighten our sense of surveillance. We need to be more guarding as far as our approach to this pandemic is concerned, because this is something new about which we don't have much of a detail. And anything about which we don't have much of a detailed precautions is the way to lead to. So probably in that sense, we are on a good footing, but precautions are there. Precautions have to be there. They are the key, probably.
Fair enough. Dr. Paul, so obviously there are challenges, and the Prime Minister has taken a meeting, and you'll have gone through all those challenges, and states have been put on alert, people are ready. The fact is that we are vaccinating over 100 crore now, 118 crore people have been vaccinated. Many of them have got the mRNA vaccine, Covishield. There are other vaccines in the pipeline like Zycov-D and all these. The question is, all these other vaccines, scientifically, obviously the evidence suggests that the mRNA vaccines are actually, are being looked at as better vaccines, and then the DNA vaccines, are they basically an improvement on mRNA? I'm asking you technically the question.
I don't think we should see the vaccine characteristics in this binary way. The main message is that the vaccines are using different platforms. There are certain advantages in terms of manufacturing, vaccine by platform A versus B versus C. But I think we should be concerned in India for the vaccine that we are using.
Yes.
We have dependent essentially on Covishield, which is a highly effective vaccine, and the new data, new publications are attesting to this, and we have seen how it has been successful in study after study in ensuring protection against severe disease, protection against mortality, and also in protection against asymptomatic infections to an extent. And the same is true for our own homegrown Covaxin, which is beginning to about 15% of the recipients, 15% of the doses. So I think in terms of the vaccines, we have a wonderful twin vaccines, and we have the DNA vaccine, which again is highly effective, highly safe, and it's being injected into the program. With new data, you start to see the duration of efficacy of vaccines, different vaccines. We also learn about their individual efficacy against various variants. Let this be an academic discussion, which is fine. And now, in fact, there is also another aspect that we have to keep in mind, that the vaccines which are focused only on S protein, for example, for the mRNA vaccine, for instance, if there are mutations which hit the S protein region of the virus, then it could pose a danger. So there are some advantages of vaccine platform A versus B. But the message to the public today, officially and with full emphasis, is that we are dealing with our effective vaccines. These vaccines have done very well in terms of protecting our nation. And those who have not taken the first dose, please take the first dose. Those who have taken first dose, you are due for second dose. Please, please, please don't delay it. It is not in your interest, in your family's interest, in the interest of the nation. And that's the direction we should take. And above all, one more very important point in this journey is that the social measures have to be taken. And this mask that we have is protective against all the variants. Because once you wear it, variant A, B, C, Omicron or Delta will not pass to me. So we need not only vaccination, but we need additional protection of the vaccine, of the mask to be worn, and we need to be careful to take care of ourselves in ventilated environments so that the spread by aerosol does not happen readily. And we have to maintain social distancing, not to go to crowds, not to have parties. We still have to know that this virus is hovering around on the planet and in our own nation, and be careful. Do not lower your guard.
Dr. Raina, some reports had initially said that, this particular strain, the Omicron strain, is basically, it cannot be tested with RT-PCR. So that was creating some concern, but then some other reports suggested that you can actually test it. So the question is, do we need improved testing to be able to find this virus?
Look, this is very important, the question that you asked. If you look at how exactly this strain was picked up, it was picked up through the routine surveillance system that is in place in South Africa. And we believe that it's fairly good. The system of surveillance in South Africa is fairly good. And because of this surveillance system, they were able to pick up this viral strain. And this surveillance system largely uses the tests that are available in the public domain across the world at this point in time. So if you are able to pick up a variant of this type using the existing test, that means that you are in safer hands because this variant.
Okay. We seem to be having a problem with your connection. Yeah, but go ahead, Dr. Raina. Yes.
So we have the test in our hand which will pick up this variant. So in that sense, this is not a challenge to us. What may be a challenge to us over a period of time is how exactly it will respond to the vaccines that are already in place across the world in public domain. So that's something that we need to view over a period of time. But the best part is that what we have seen as to be working against all variants in past, the COVID appropriate behavior, the better ventilation, the better masking will work against this as well. So stepping up our public health approach to this exact variant will also be as good as it has been in past, whether it was the Delta or before that the original Wuhan virus. So that's the key as far as this variant also is concerned.
So those are precautionary measures. Dr. Paul, the question is now, I mean, we have taken already 2 doses. Some people have taken it like 6 months ago, and this is a question that is in some people's minds, as you know, whether we should be pushing for a booster dose. Now that they have this new variant, should people who have the means, I mean, the government is basically has one coverage. The other people who have the means, who want to go and take a 3rd dose, can they?
You know, the rationale and timing of the booster dose is a scientific question, which is being constantly examined with emerging data, emerging science, and studies that help us understand the duration and optimality of immunity. The short answer is that at the moment, our scientific groups that deal with handling such a question have not made any recommendation for a booster dose as of now. As of now, the national priority, which will give us the best public health gains, is to complete the task of vaccinating all adults with 2 doses of vaccine, for which there is no dearth of vaccine, there is no dearth of centers around your homes, and so on. So the current priority, you see, remember, booster happens only once proper 2 doses have been given. Yes. So kindly let's all complete the job of giving 2 doses to all the adults. If there is a need for a booster based on science, this can be taken care of by the country. There is no issue, but let's not rush for it. We are looking at an overall public health approach, and that public health approach at the moment dictates us to complete the task of universal vaccination of all adults, and then we will move on from there. When the time comes, a recommendation on booster doses will be made available.
Dr. V.K. Paul and Dr. Sunil Kumar Raina, thank you very much for your important clarifications and enlightening us on this emerging story of the Omicron variant. Thank you for being with us. Moving on then to our next story. The winter session of Parliament, it starts on Monday the 29th of this month, and a bill to repeal all the 3 farm laws is expected to be placed in Parliament on the first day of the winter session. The Union Agriculture Minister Narendra Singh Tomar has urged farmers to end their stir as the government has met their demands. The Prime Minister has also announced the setting up of a committee to consider issues like zero budget farming, crop diversification, and also making MSP effective and transparent. Let's look at this report.
After Prime Minister Narendra Modi's announcement of withdrawing the farm laws, the government has accepted another demand of the farmers. Union Agriculture Minister Narendra Singh Tomar said that the government has agreed to decriminalize stubble burning. This was a long-pending demand of the farmers' organizations.
संगठनों ने पराली जलाने पर किसानों पर क्रिमिनल ऑफेंस से उन्हें मुक्त किया जाए, यह मांग भी की थी। भारत सरकार ने इस मांग को भी मान लिया है।
The Agriculture Minister said that the bill for repealing of all 3 farm laws will be tabled in Parliament on the first day of the winter session. He appealed to the farmers to end their agitation.
प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने गुरु नानक देव जी के प्रकाश पर्व के पुनीत अवसर पर इन तीनों कृषि कानूनों को रिपील करने की घोषणा की। प्रधानमंत्री जी की घोषणा के अनुरूप केंद्र सरकार की मंत्रिपरिषद ने इसे अपनी स्वीकृति प्रदान की है। संसद प्रारंभ के दिन तीनों कृषि कानून संसद में रिपील करने के लिए प्रस्तुत किए जाएंगे।
Meanwhile, the BJP has issued a whip to all its MPs in the Lok Sabha to be present in the House on Monday. As the government has yielded to the demands of the farmers, there's been a softening of stance of the farmers' organizations as well. The Joint Farmers Front has decided to postpone its proposed tractor march on Monday.
29 का संसद कूच का ऐलान किया था, तब 3 कानून रिपील नहीं हुए थे। उन्होंने पार्लियामेंट में विश्वास दिलाया है कि वो 29 को इन्हें रिपील करेंगे। हमने वेट किया है और ऐलान करते हैं कि 29 का संसद कूच संयुक्त किसान मोर्चा की तरफ से सस्पेंड किया जाता है, पोस्टपोन किया जाता है।
The farmer leaders have agreed to continue talking with the government in the future as well. The government has said that the PM has announced setting up of a committee to consider issues like zero budget farming, crop diversification and making MSP effective as well as transparent. Bureau Report, DD India.
President Ramnath Kovind addressed the valedictory session of the two-day event marking Constitution Day, and he ruled the problem of pendency of cases, saying that it's adversely impacting the economy. Both Chief Justice Ramana and the Union Law Minister weighed in on the problem from infrastructure and delivery points of view.
President Ramnath Kovind, while expressing concern over the long pendency of cases in courts, said that it is high time all stakeholders find a way out by keeping national interest above all. The President said that the issue of pendency has ramifications for economic growth and development too.
The issue of pendency has ramifications for economic growth and development too. It is high time all stakeholders find a way out by keeping national interest above all. Technology can be a great ally in this process.
To address the problem of shortage of judges, President suggested an All India Judicial Service which can select, nurture and promote the right talent right from the lower levels to the higher levels.
Independence of the judiciary is non-negotiable. Without diluting it to the slightest degree, can a better way be found to select judges for the higher judiciary? For instance, there can be an All India Judicial Service which can select, nurture and promote the right talent right from the lower levels to the higher levels.
Chief Justice of India, Justice N.V. Ramanna, said that judiciary alone cannot be held responsible for pendency of cases. He added that this problem can be addressed by paying special attention to the judicial infrastructure.
Ultimately, the money or the funds sanctioned by the Government of India through central schemes has to reach and it has to spend. Unfortunately, some of the state has not given their share of money as a contributing share, so no infrastructure schemes are taking up place. So this is the reason why I am strongly advocating for the National Judicial Infrastructure Corporation. I request once again, please consider this.
Union Law Minister Kiren Rijiju assured all possible help from the Centre for Development of Necessary Infrastructure. He said that for this, the Centre has already allocated 9,000 crore rupees.
The government has already approved continuation of the centrally sponsored scheme for development of infrastructure facilities for the judiciary at a cost of 9,000 crores. The present government is sensitive to the needs of providing well-equipped judicial infrastructure to judiciary to facilitate administration of justice in a manner that allows easy and timely delivery of justice to all.
In the two-day-long event marking Constitution Day, judges of Supreme Court and High Court and several legal luminaries attended and discussed the present condition of judiciary as well as future challenges. Vikas Sarthi's report for DD India.
Well, in Tamil Nadu, at least 8 people have died in rain-related incidents in the state since the current spell of cyclonic-induced rainfall because of the circulation in the Bay of Bengal began on Thursday. 344 cattle have died, 2,202 huts and 273 concrete houses have been damaged in showers. 11,239 people have been accommodated in 123 relief centers in 14 districts. The Met Office sounded a red alert for coastal districts for the next 2 days. 21 districts, including Chennai, had declared a holiday for schools and colleges. 2 teams of the National Disaster Response Force have been deployed in Chingalpet and 1 in Kanchipuram. And the Chief Minister M.K. Stalin met the Governor R.N. Ravi at the Rajpath and apprised him of the relief measures. The IMD has also predicted heavy rainfall in Kerala till the 29th of November. A yellow alert has been issued in 10 districts from Tiruvanananthapuram to Malapuram and an orange alert from Idukki.
Yesterday, cyclonic circulation over Comerid and adjoining Sri Lanka, extending up to 1.5 kilometer above mean sea level, is still persisting in the same region. Under its influence, heavy to very heavy with isolated extreme heavy rainfall associated with the thunderstorm and lightning is likely over Tiruvallur and Ranipet districts. Heavy to very heavy rain is likely to occur at a few places over Chennai, Kanchipuram, Chengalpattu, Vilupuram, Tiruvannamalai, Velur, Tirunelveli, Thuthukudi, Kanyakumari and Ramanathapuram districts.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's advisor Amit Khare on Saturday addressed a seminar on the new educational policy. He did so in Ranchi, and speaking on at the seminar, this is at the Central University of Jharkhand, he said, "It is after 36 years that the national education policy has been brought into the country," and he said that the spirit behind the policy is to make it a part of the global system while remaining connected to the roots.
इसकी मूल भावना है, एक तरफ हम वैश्विक व्यवस्था का अंग बने और दूसरी तरफ अपनी जड़ों से जुड़े रहें। कोई भी समाज तब तक उन्नति नहीं कर सकता जब तक वो अपनी भाषा, अपनी संस्कृति, अपने समाज से कटा रहे।
Some international news now. In a tragic accident in Mexico, at least 19 people lost their lives and 30 others were injured. A deadly accident took place in Joquiquingo, where a vehicle's brakes failed to work and the bus that was the vehicle crashed into a home. According to reports of the local media, the bus was traveling to a religious site. In the US's North Carolina, at least 3 people were killed as an assailant opened fire in the streets of South Point Mall in Durham this happened on Black Friday. The mall was later evacuated, and it showed large numbers of police cars, fire trucks and ambulances being deputed outside. So police said that 1 person is in custody, a second has fled the scene. In another incident of killing of at least 3 people, they died in Kosovo when a masked man opened fire on a bus carrying passengers, including school children. The deceased include the bus driver and 2 teenagers. The attack happened close to the mall, close to the small town of Dikani, which is about 90 kilometers from Pristina. A police source spoke on condition of anonymity and said that there are no indications that the attack may be linked to terrorism. The European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has said that the EU must support the people of Afghanistan to prevent imminent economic and social collapse in that country. Speaking during the 13th Asia-Europe meeting, the European Union chief executive said that it was crucial for the EU to avoid imminent economic and social collapse in Afghanistan despite not recognizing the Taliban's leadership.
The European Union does not recognize the new regime imposed through violence, but we need to prevent imminent economic and social collapse that the country faces. We need to stand by the people of Afghanistan. And this is why last month we announced a package worth €1 billion, including €300 million in humanitarian aid. The European Union will keep on engaging with the countries in the region.
Meanwhile, a Taliban delegation met with the Special Envoy of Qatar's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Mutlaq al-Khatani, and this happened to discuss ways to improve humanitarian assistance for Afghan citizens. This meeting comes as a delegation from the Taliban is currently visiting Qatar, where a new round of negotiations between the outfit and the US will start next week. Qatar's Ministry of Foreign Affairs said in a statement that the delegations discussed topics like counterterrorism, enhancing human rights and humanitarian aid. And also the two sides stressed on the importance of having humanitarian aid reach beneficiaries, especially with winter approaching. As part of the celebrations for Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, the ICCR has organized a mega event named Next Generation Democracy. It's going to emphasize on India's rich democratic traditions. Young leaders from different countries have come to India to be part of this event spanning about a week. The inaugural batch of delegates, they include young leaders from Bhutan, Sweden, Jamaica, Tanzania, Sri Lanka, Poland, Uzbekistan and Malaysia. Delegates were also enthralled about the week-long knowledge exchange program and also about getting acquainted with the idea of India.
I represent a country that shares a very close friendship with India. We are here in a country that is not only a democracy, but actually that celebrates democracy in everyday life as well. We have an incredible itinerary ahead. We'll be visiting Gujarat right before the vibrant Gujarat summit. And I think to myself, if India nahi dekha, to democracy nahi dekha. So I think that pretty much sums up what democracy is.
Well, the idea exchange forums, seminars, visits of various levels of government institutions of select Indian cities will be a program, will also be a part of that program.
It's a great platform for future leaders from different parts of the world to come together and build a relationship, because politics is not just about positions and power, it's more about your network and how you utilize that network. So I feel India, being the superpower for us, has taken a great initiative by bringing this up.
I want to know more about the mother of democracy. What I'll take from India to Tanzania is first about democracy, the way the government arms work. And there's no collision, You work separately, but there's no collision. That's very wonderful. I've really liked that.
The 52nd International Film Festival of India continues to attract people with a lineup of national as well as international films, all at one place, Goa. The In Conversation session gives an insight into the nuances of the film industry as filmmakers and artists, they share their experiences. On the one hand, international films are luring audiences. Regional cinema is also leaving a mark. Take a look at this report.
The 52nd edition of the International Film Festival of India is finally drawing to a close. And as preparations are on in full swing for the closing ceremony, activity here on the penultimate day too, whether it's on the red carpet or in the various venues for the screening of films from across the world, activity here is as hectic as ever. Writers, directors and actors as well as film buffs are flying in, not just from across India but across the world as well.
This time, Marathi film Fundrail in the competition category in IFFI grabbed many eyeballs and has been appreciated by film buffs. So much so that everyone burst into cheers when Martin, a character from the cast of the movie, walked down the red carpet.
Film में Crow is bringing the lightness of death. So Crow is a very important character for our film. बहुत important character.
Basically, death के बारे में बात करने वाली फिल्म है. हमने देखा कोविड सेकेंड वेव है, कोविड अभी भी मतलब लोग बोल रहे हैं थर्ड वेव, वी ऑल सराउंडेड बाय डेथ. तो डेथ हमारे आजू बाजू में था. लास्ट 2 years हर फैमिली में कोई ना कोई स्टोरी है. तो एज अ सोसाइटी डेथ हमारे आजू बाजू में था और उसको लेके हम लोगों ने कुछ अच्छा मैसेज देने की कोशिश की है। हमारा टैगलाइन फिल्म में जो हम लोगों तक पहुंचाना चाहते हैं, मराठी में एक हमने टैगलाइन बनाई है जिसका नाम है जगू आनंदे निगू आनंदे, जो है कि आप हंसते हंसते आओ और हंसते हंसते चले जाओ।
Meanwhile, Additional Secretary, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, Neerja Shekhar visited the festival venue on Saturday. At IFFI, a glimpse of Film Bandhu website was also seen. This website was started to give single window clearance to the filmmakers from Uttar Pradesh. Apart from the Additional Secretary, actor Randhir Kapoor and director Rahul Ravel were also present on the occasion.
यूपी सरकार का शुक्रगुजार हूँ, योगी जी का शुक्रगुजार हूँ कि उन्होंने ये फिल्म बंधु जो नया कार्यक्रम शुरू किया है फिल्मों के लिए, ये एक बढ़ावा देता है हमारी फिल्म इंडस्ट्री को।
इस बार जो पहली बार किया कि 75 साल हैं स्वतंत्रता के, तो हम 75 कम से कम एक टोकन है कि 75 लोगों को हम क्रिएटिव माइंड्स जो हैं हमारे देश के, इनको हमने चुना, एक ज्यूरी बनी, उनकी फिल्म्स को सिलेक्ट किया गया, एक बाकायदा प्रोसेस के साथ उनको लेकर आया गया। तो एक फ्यूचरिस्टिक जो बोर्ड दिया गया है इसको, वो बहुत हमारे लिए एक आशा की किरण की तरह है कि हमें और आगे इसको लेकर जाना है।
Like every year, IFFI continues to charm everyone and viewers want to capture every memory of IFFI on its last day. Rukma Datta from Goa for DD India.
And our correspondent Rukma Datta takes a look at the new initiatives taken by IFFI this year in Goa.
As far as new initiatives this time around are concerned, the first among these is the 75 Creative Minds of Tomorrow. 75 youth under the age of 35 selected for their talent and skill in various aspects of filmmaking in celebration of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Also, the BRICS Film Festival being held for the first time alongside IFFI, with films from the 5 BRICS nations being showcased to be judged by an eminent jury headed by celebrated director and producer Rahul Ravel. In addition to that, there are various other initiatives being launched, like the PIB initiative of IFFI Lloyd, which informs the press about every detail, about every highlight, about every screening and press conference that took place during the day. These were just a few of the initiatives. IFFI this year offered its visitors a lot of new experiences. The participation of OTT platforms in a big way, for example. Many OTT platforms had their premieres here during the 52nd edition of IFFI. This is Rukma Datta with camera person Pramod Negi signing off for DD India from Goa.
Some cricket news. Akshar Patel continued his golden run in favourable home conditions, grabbing another 5-wicket haul to put India in the driver's seat. New Zealand were bowled out for 296 despite an opening stand of 151 on the third day of the first test against India in Kanchipuram. Now, Akshar Patel had a couple of dream sessions when he finally found the ideal pace and turn off the surface to completely derail New Zealand's steady first innings. His figures helped India get a crucial 49-run first innings lead, which increased to 63 at stumps. Ravichandran Ashwin also produced good figures of 3 for 84 from 42.3 overs and closed in on Harbhajan Singh's tally of 417 wickets, test wickets that is, and Harbhajan, as we know, is the third highest Indian wicket taker in test cricket. So Ashwin is very close there. Akshar has had a dream start, as we said, to his career, and he has taken now 32 wickets in just 3.5 tests so far. At stumps, India were 14 for 1 after losing Shubman Gill. For the second time, he fell to Kyle Jamieson. PV Sindhu's impressive campaign at the Indonesia Open Badminton Tournament came to an end, and Sindhu went down in 3 games to the former world champion Ratchanok Itanon of Thailand. In a hard-fought women's singles semi-final, she lost 21-15, 9-21, 14-21, and Ratchanok is actually world number 8 and is seeded second in this tournament, and has had won the match in 54 minutes for her third semi-final finish on the trot. So the 26-year-old Sindhu had made it to the last four in Indonesian Masters last week and also to the French Open in October. The Indian squash player Saurav Ghoshal has become the first Indian to win the Malaysian Open. He's now the Malaysian Open champion. The 35-year-old defeated the top seed Miguel Rodriguez of Colombia 3-0 in 55 minutes. Ghoshal won the first game 11-7 before clinching the second 11-18, and he didn't even break a sweat. The Colombian did give the Indian a hard time in the third game, but Ghoshal maintained his composure to clinch it 13-11, winning the title with relative ease. Well, that's all we have in News Night for tonight. Thank you very much for being with us. But always remember that now that we have a variant of concern, to take extra precautions and always wear your mask properly and cover your nose. Thanks very much for being with us. Namaskar.